okay, John? Did you have too much chicken?
We ate a lot of chicken.
I had a lot of chicken. I had some bunch of fries, and I had most of those mozzarella sticks, and I had a good portion of those fried pickles.
I'm just saying, being in the hood, you get some really solid food places, which is dope.
So good.
Fuck yeah. Dude, chicken tendies in a marg, though.
So good.
Hell yeah.
All I need is my wings. I'm good.
You had a big plate of wings. I was surprised. You just,
did.
you fucking slammed those.
It's like all protein. So,
Yeah, you're a little protein boy. I'll be honest, though. I bet those protein cookies you made are good, but they don't look good.
Well, they would murder you, first of all, because
Yeah.
the main ingredient is peanut butter powder.
I would die. But, regardless of that, they look a little bit more like macaroons.
Yeah, they're pretty much little turds. That's what they look like. Because it's just peanut butter powder that I add water in to make it, gloopy. And then I added a little bit of flour, vanilla protein powder, and some chocolate chips and a little vanilla syrup.
Yeah, see, most of that seems fine until you add the metric fuck ton of peanut butter powder.
Yeah, that'd murder you.
Yeah, I would die.
They were pretty tasty. I broke off a little piece of one of them.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Ayo. I was like, I like the little protein brownies you made.
Yeah, those were good, too.
Those are good. Those are enjoyable.
I need to make those again.
I've just been doing I've basically been peasant maxing for the past few weeks, where I just been making loaves of bread.
Yeah.
It's really good, but then, I made fresh bread, so I just eat it, and then I'm like, fuck, this bread was supposed to last for a few days, but I just ate it. I guess I gotta make more bread. Oh no.
I've also been making protein cheesecakes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is just protein powder and sugar-free cheesecake mix and, water.
And then, graham cracker crust.
Yeah, that's good. But it's also the same thing where it's like, oh, I'll have dessert for a while. And it's like, or I could eat a fourth of this as a meal. And I'm still getting my protein goal, so it works.
Yeah, you're doing that. I as a ha-ha, because when TikTok was supposed to go down, I jumped in a live stream with Matt Stormcrow and a bunch of other folks. It was super pleasant. But Matt talked me into peasant maxing on live, so I was eating my loaf of bread, and I just grabbed a block of cheese out of my fridge. So I just leaned over my kitchen counter, half awake in a bralette, just eating cheese out of the brick with bread.
Good stuff.
And coffee, and I was like, I feel like I'm representing this show, accurately.
Yeah, that's about our energy half the time. Half the time. The other half is bowling ball baseball, but...
Yeah. I was just like, I'll just eat this block of cheese, and I'll just share my weird opinions about just various things in oWoD and have spicy takes.
Speaking of various things in oWoD, hey, and welcome to Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade V5, tabletop, and horror podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and as always, I'm joined by other host.
Wait, are we? Well, I guess we have to do with WOD.
Yes.
We do.
I'm
Big
John.
ol' WOD.
Big ol' WOD.
Big ol' WOD, John.
Big ol' WOD Johnny boy.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I guess it's better than Chorizo Joe.
I love chorizo, though.
Yeah.
Chorizo's pretty good.
Chorizo is pretty good. But we are not talking about foodstuffs. We're actually talking about discipline.
Yes.
Disciplines. Vampire powers.
Hellos.
Hellos.
That's what we script that on the script, so.
I did. We did hellos.
Said hello. No.
Now we're doing
Vampire powers.
So we're talking about disciplines and amalgams this episode.
Neat.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. There's trying to do some pre-setup before we get into the Zamitzi episode, so...
Yeah, because they have some weird shit.
There's some weird shit going on, and I didn't want to make the episodes clunky, because while we're getting close to the end of the Clan Deep Dive series, I have a format, damn it, and I'm trying to stick to it until the Hakata completely ruins it at the end.
Yay!
Huzzah!
It's all for naught.
It's all for naught. Everything will fall into entropy.
Thanks, Hakata.
We're living in a dying universe. The heat death is nigh. Anyways, until then, we're going to have some silly game time.
Hey-o.
So we're going to be talking about what is a discipline, a bit of history on how they've worked previously and how they work now, including the new amalgam system in V5.
Neat.
Yeah, some people might have spicy takes.
Sorry.
Strap in.
Yeah.
Strap on, if you will. Content warning, regular World of Darkness stuff. If we go a little unhinged, I do apologize, but it's World of Darkness. This is a mature game. Please be prepared. If you're not in the mood, you can come on back later, or not at all. It's okay.
Yeah.
We respect you. Our sources are the V5 Core Book, the V5 Player's Guide, the Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition. I know there's other editions of Vampire, but this is just a good capstone for old WOD stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also will be touching upon the Encyclopedia Vampirica, Time of Thin Blood, and Lore of the Clans.
Lore of the Clans.
Okay, so what is a discipline? Basically, disciplines are supernatural abilities that the vampire can possess and improve upon. This does not include the innate immortality, healing factor, or short-term improving of abilities through the power of the blood. So blood surges, blush of life, all that stuff. Those are not disciplines.
So disciplines are like ones that specific vampires / clans have and not universal powers.
Yeah. There are some disciplines that are like almost universal powers because, goddammit, it's very funny. I'm like, why does every other clan have this discipline as the thing they can access?
Yeah.
This is fucking silly.
Yeah.
But, you know.
They're useful, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, disciplines is basically everything your vampire does that's not like the basic thing. So, wahoo. It's where you get the customization in.
Yeah.
Yay! So, in the canon, the Malkavian scholar Trimesian coined the term disciplines to describe these abilities in his seminal work Encyclopedia Haemovoria, which rushily translates to the Encyclopedia of Blood Drinkers.
Good.
Yeah. This work within the canon has become popular among scholars of vampire physiology.
Oh.
So if you want to drop this little book in your games as like a thing that could be discovered or used as a tool, it's in the canon and there's some stuff for it, which I thought was neat.
I love in-universe media.
Yeah, because the Encyclopedia Vampirica is also in canon, fucking the Book of Nods in canon, Revelations of the Dark Mother canon.
In canon.
Yeah. The Erases fragments in canon. Technically, Beckett's Jihad Diary is also in canon.
Weird.
It's just something you probably won't actually get access to.
You probably not. You might find notes or get segments of, or get a copy of the tape recordings.
Yeah, or what else? I think all of the Black Dog stuff is in universe.
I think a lot of it is. I don't remember.
It's complicated because there is a Black Dog Games Factory, I believe is the full title. Black Dog Games is an in-universe game company that makes basically parody versions of all the World of Darkness game lines. But it's also the name of the book line that they published in the real world that had content that even they thought was too spicy for their main book lines. So there are two of those.
Yeah.
But
I suppose at some point we could do an episode highlighting. These are all books that exist in the canon. That's insane. Feel free to do with this what you want.
I like that.
Maybe.
We can just list them for a half hour.
I just like weird rabbit holes.
Well, I guarantee you by the time we get into like things like Mage, there's going to be a ton more.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got all kinds of fucking books.
I'm going to need so many drugs. So many drugs for those. Anywho, speaking of rabbit holes, so fun side note about Trimesian, he is the sire of the good Dr. Douglas Netchurch, if people remember me mentioning him last episode.
Yeah, passingly.
Yeah, it was just a passing, like, oh, this is kind of a neat canon character, I'll just name drop it, and then he came up again, and I'm like...
He's here.
Oh no, he showed up again. What's he doing? So I did a little looky-loo. Dr. Netchurch gained the attention of his sire with his medical skills in the trenches of World War I.
All right, then.
Dr. Netchurch is an American, by the way. He's one of ours.
Great job, buddy.
I
regret that already based on the laugh.
You should. Dr. Netchurch is also accepted as one of the premier authorities on vampiric physiology. And he's also created a system to measure blood potency without having to use blood magic. And is the leading experts on thin bloods and ghoul studies.
Oh.
So far, so good.
I mean, that depends on how he came about that knowledge.
Well, we haven't gotten into that yet.
Okay.
We'll get into that on the thin blood episodes.
Oh, no.
I was like going down this rabbit hole. I was like, oh, I should include all these notes. That'd be really cool. And then I realized where it was going, and I'm like, I'm gonna save that.
Yeah.
That'll fit better over there. I'm just like, this is actually a really well-written, actually terrifying Malkavian character, if you decide to spoil yourself. Friends, neighbors, brothers at arms. So yeah, I just thought that was a neat, like, oh, this guy wrote this, and he's the sire of this, and then just, oh, uh-oh. So, you know, a fellow colleague of Louis Pasteur, if you will. Definitely did not fuck.
Dang.
I know.
Maybe
He's too busy with his work.
He's too busy. That's
a way to put it.
He's got a lot of Herbert West energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the actual origins of disciplines is debated amongst the vampire community. It's a big meta plot. Like, how did this happen? Who knows? Like, the lore of a lot of clans is based on these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not universally agreed upon, because some people give all of the credit to Cain, some people give it as a split between Cain and Lilith, some people give it all to Lilith, some people acknowledge that there are antediluvians that have also made disciplines. Which is funny that they're like, I'll acknowledge that this has happened. And I'm like just the entirety of the Tremere is just standing right there going, we literally made a discipline during written history. Like, there are vampires alive today that knew a time where our brand of blood sorcery did not exist, and now it does, and they have to acknowledge it. Like, this is such a weird take, my guy.
No, we don't.
And they're like, nope, everything's derived from Cain. Fuck you. I'm just like, what?
Maybe Cain could do that, and then when you guys came around, you guys figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But he already had it.
Yeah, Dad did it better.
You go ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Go find out.
Find out a game, I guess. So, yeah, just run with this however works for your table universe. It's one of those that's such a big question that I'm like, yeah, in character I can understand what people would ask about this, but it's also so big that I'm like, does it actually affect your table? It depends on the little story.
Yeah, I could totally see like you're playing an older-ish vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And you got little baby bat joins your group, and you're trying to explain like, yeah, you have powers of your blood. You know, the disciplines are this, and they're like, why? And you gotta, I don't know, bullshit a theory at least, because you're,
and they're just like, why?
Yeah, they play the why game.
Yeah.
And then you tell them they have to be quiet.
With dominate. See,
yeah.
Look, I use the ability. See, child, these are the wonders of our blood, and then just walks away. It's like, what?
Now study that.
Just stares at own hands. Disciplines in past and future times. So, the White Wolf Wiki lists 17 main disciplines and a variety of much rarer disciplines, which are unique to particular clans and or practiced by bloodlines and thin blood vampires. Minimum 17. I did go through the 20th anniversary book and confirmed that 17 is like the core disciplines listed in the 20th anniversary book. There's a bunch of other ones that are not in there, like Melpomene and whatever the fuck the one that the Chiassids get. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, sure.
It's like weird fae bullshit.
I have the list open, actually, because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Yeah. I can list off the ones that are in the core book if you desire.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So your base disciplines: animalism, aspect, celerity, chemistry, dementation, dominate, fortitude, necromancy, obfuscate, tenebration, potence, presence, protean, quietus, serpentis, thaumaturgy, and vicissitude.
It's a lot.
17 are the core, and then a bunch of bullshit ones.
There's so many. If you go to the White Wolf Wiki itself, and you just look at the discipline power, they have them set up by... they have a whole section that's just called Legacy, which are ones that are basically not in V5, or if they are, it's like, you can get like a dot of this through an amalgam or something, but it's like Abominway, Bardo, Chemistry, Daimonion, Daimos, Dementation, Flight, Kai, Kineticism, Maleficia, Melpomene, Mythersaria, Nihilistics, Obia, Otenebration, Quietus, Rift, Sanguinus, Serpentis, Spiritus, Striga, Temporis, Thanatosis, Valerian, Vicissitude, and Visceratica.
Fuck Temporis.
So there's a lot.
Temporis.
Temporis is the one that the assholes get.
Obey is also just a little problematic because it's a discipline that its name is basically an actual religion.
That's just the old Saluber healing powers.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like, also Obey is just a really fucked up discipline. I'm sorry. Just like, you get to do vampire healing. Yeah, by consuming another person's soul. And also like, oh, I can heal you with like your mental and emotional health. And it's like, yeah, but you're kind of just etch-a-sketch erasing their soul to do that. I'm like, that's still fucked up.
Yeah, it's perfect for a horror game.
Yeah, it's perfect for a horror game. I don't know why people act like that one's like I want to play vampire, but I'm going to be the good guy, ooh. And I'm like, no, that's still bad. Anyways, I'm sorry.
There are other ways you can heal vampires.
And I don't think... I hate things Temporis is like, God damn it. Technically, the time power is cool.
Time powers, just don't put them in your game. I'm going to say this right now.
That might be a really high-powered NPC that shows up and just Deus Ex Machinas and then leaves.
I think it just... when time gets involved, it ruins everything, because it's kind of like when you give your players like unlimited dimensional hopping. It's like everything either that's happened is either immediately unimportant because they now have the power to change it, or everyone's just going to lose track of what's going on because we've changed things so many times no one remembers if World War II happened or not. Like, let alone like the little dumb shits you did. It just becomes so complicated that...
This is why paradigm and paradox is important, but we're not talking about mage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need more drugs.
I feel like if you have a vampire that has time powers, they're taking paradox, even if...
Your body should just start disintegrating. Something.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it though?
It's
right?
supposed to.
Yeah.
As we talked about in the Bruja episodes, if you want to check those out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta get those numbers up.
I should also note that when I read all those legacy disciplines, that didn't include any of the legacy blood magics that aren't around anymore. And that list is about the same, if not longer.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to sit there and read that. I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, because each of the blood magics, a lot of them have paths within them. So you're just like, oh, it's just this one discipline. You crack it open and just a clown car
of
insanity.
actual disciplines.
Yeah, you open you open the car and a Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show amount of dancers just starts piling out of it.
Here's how goofy it is. I was looking at the list. There's thaumaturgy. There's also dark thaumaturgy and Celanic thaumaturgy.
Oh.
They just kept splitting it up.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
It's like, I like thaumaturgy. It's kind of the same reason I like thin blood alchemy. It's like, I really like utility powers and kind of playing jackknives. I enjoy that shit. I understand that's also a giant pain in the ass, and it is my responsibility to know how my powers work, not the storyteller.
Fair.
Because this is bullshit. But yeah, those are the cores. If you wanted to gain disciplines outside of your base clan set, because each clan usually gets 3 that are like, these are you. This is what you do. Basically, you would have to consume the vitae of the teacher the first time to gain access to the ability, which I think is neat.
Yeah, I like that.
And it costs double, right?
Yes.
Yes.
If this is done at character creation with freebie points, you do need to like cash out with your storyteller. Like, why?
Right.
There's nothing stopping you from doing it at freebie points, but you know.
I mean, you could easily do like at character creation things like predator type.
Yeah, well, it's like we're talking about old world though.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, they didn't have predator type. Yeah, predator type is a good way to cover for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in old world, it's like, okay, well, you're just gonna start the game owing somebody a boon or something,
right?
Which is good story beats, but it's also just like you can't just do this for no reason. The power of the disciplines is basically locked within the blood itself, and it does represent how each clan is unique in their ability to tap into their powers, which if you're doing, character building and story creation, I think those are really good elements that you could play with and run with.
This is kind of a side note, but if you got some of their blood, could anyone learn thin blood alchemy? Because I thought if they get, turned into another clan, they lost there.
Not in 5th Ed. This older system. It's weird. I'll get into it more when we do the Thin Bloods, but at least from, my understanding of it, there's a lot of information for Thin Bloods, but there's not a whole lot of rules on, running one as a player. It's weird. I'll definitely dive into more when we get into those episodes.
Okay.
Where is it? Oh, yeah. So these disciplines also do not require blood to be spent unless noted within the power itself. And some of the disciplines require a spend of blood as well as willpower.
Yeah. But that's regular whether you're in or out clan.
Yeah.
For that power.
Yeah. So those are things I was just like, oh yeah, that's kind of neat. But I thought that was a good, little basis that they wrote in for the disciplines. It doesn't cost anything unless stated otherwise.
Yeah.
It's very Magic the Gathering. Read the card, play the card, please.
Yeah.
Which is neat. V5 has their own versions with the core disciplines, and it's split between a couple of books. It used to be split between a lot of books. Thank God for the Player's Guide. Jesus Christ. Saved a lot of problems. So with the core book, you get the access to Animalism, Auspex, Celerity, Dominate, Fortitude, Obfuscate, Potence, Presence, Protean, Blood Sorcery, and actually Thin Blood Alchemy.
Yeah.
Which is dope. Player's Guide has the full spread for Oblivion, and it has additions to all of the others. Right. I wrote them out as a list and was like, I don't need to read that list again.
Yeah.
So between those 2 books, you should have access to most of the disciplines that are currently available at print date time. There are a handful of additional steps or alternate paths you can take within the disciplines because they give extra options. I will recommend the Paradox Wiki for V5 is actually really good with listing out what the powers are, what their cost is, and also citing what book they're in and what page they're in.
Nice.
So I'm like, good job. I don't know who you had doing your wiki for that, But that page, super helpful.
The Paradox Wiki in general is great for crunch stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like the White Wolf Wiki is mostly lore, whereas the Paradox one, it's got like so many resources. When I run 5th ed, I just kind of leave it open so I don't have to flip through books, because a lot of it is like there is enough information for you to just go, and we're doing that. Okay, that's how that works. Like you can just hit Control F and find everything really quick.
Yeah. And also, side note, the lore sheet page is really nice because it has all the lore sheets listed out. It gives you like a very rough of what's on the sheet, and then it gives you the book and page numbers so you can go find like the full info.
Yeah.
So if you're a dumbass like me, those 2 pages, super fucking helpful. Highly recommend those pages.
It's great when you're like, I remember this lore sheet. What book is that in? Pulls out 8 books to flip through.
Girl, my fucking PDF reader being like 9 tabs because I can't remember. I was like, I know this lore sheet exists. I do not remember what book it's in. I'm just manically opening every PDF going, no.
That's not it. That's not it.
God damn it. So that saved me a lot of like just frazzled screaming in my own apartment.
Yay.
Huzzah! I did want to note, at least for the V5 main disciplines, some of the disciplines require no rolls at all, or even, which includes like blood surges. Some of them are just, this is just happening.
Mm-hmm.
You have this now, hooray. Fortitude, I'm looking at you.
Cat's grace, fortitude.
Mostly looking at you, fortitude. If you want to have like, I want to get beefed but not have to do a lot of rolls, fortitude.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm misremembering because it's been a while since I've used it, but things like the invisibility discipline, you don't roll to do it, but people roll against you to see if they can see through it. So it happens, but then there's a roll to see if other people can.
Yeah.
That's how that works, right?
Yeah, it's similar to previous edition where it's like, assume you're not rolling or spending anything unless it states otherwise, and usually it does like right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Be like, thing. Obfuscate's a little weird compared to the other disciplines, because it's not like, oh yeah, you have attribute, discipline, combo wombo dice pool, and you're rolling that against somebody else. Usually it's, if you're doing, the classic obfuscate where you're like, okay, I roll the rouse to spend the blood. Bleh, I'm invisible. I'm gonna go walk and do my stuff. And then somebody's got their little ospec radar on, and it's just like beam, beam, beam. Then you have to do the roll off.
Right.
So
they're like, did they notice?
Yeah. And there's also some weird stuff with like thaumaturgy where the wards, you don't roll the ward when you cast that ritual. You do that ritual roll when you have the ward interacted with.
Weird.
Which I think is thematically really cool, because that means that like it implies a more direct tie between somebody doing a ward and like the spell itself, because it's like running off of your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But that does leave you with the danger of like, oh no, I'm at 4 hunger, and then somebody fucks with your ward, and you're just like, well, I'm forced now to do a roll. Whoops.
Yeah.
But you do the blood rouse, or do the rouse check when you cast the ritual. So you're like, all right, I've already spent the blood. I've done the roll for casting the ritual, but like the actual roll for the ward going off, you don't roll that until, it's time.
Right. Do they have messy crits on those rolls?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It explodes the door.
That could happen.
Yay.
It could burn you. There's lots of things that could happen.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
ST discretion is a powerful thing.
It is.
It is. It is.
So those are things that I'm just like, oh yeah. Couple little, the procedures for running the disciplines between old and new are not terribly different. So if you're old coming into the newer system, honestly, it's not that different. You're fine. Like the hunger dice are obviously the most different thing, but like once you get over that hump, it's pretty like, bicycle, I recognize you. And then if you're
you
new,
have a slightly new paint job.
Yeah, and if you're new to V5 and you're like, I've been liking this vampire game, and one of the old heads shows up and they're like, come to experience what vampire actually is. You're not gonna get too lost except blood points. You're just gonna go, what?
Yeah.
What? How many?
How many blood points?
13. Why do I have 13?
That's so many blood points.
And then you're just like, this is actually not a lot of
That's
blood
not
points.
very many blood points.
That's not very many blood points at all. So, amalgams, this is where we're getting into the spicy categories.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
Our boys been vibrating, waiting. So right before we get into amalgams, I'm going to talk a little bit about combination disciplines, because this is a thing I absolutely fucking forgot was a thing in the old system, because it just didn't really come up terribly often. But basically, combination disciplines are a unique discipline ability that requires skill within each discipline that's involved, usually it's 2, to gain access to the unique ability. So it's kind of like a pre-amalgam thing. So amalgams basically they've been here the whole time. But to get access with a combination discipline, the that combination discipline would have an XP cost on top of what you'd be spending on the two separate disciplines. So if a combination discipline was like you need 3 dots of one and 2 of the other, you'd need to get to the third dot of the one and the second dot of the other, and then you can buy the combination discipline. Like outside of that is its own XP cost, but then that's just a thing you can do.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Which I thought that was a neat, like, kind of mechanic. I have mixed feelings on making people have to buy 2 separate disciplines to gain access to a third one.
Yeah.
I have that. There's some give and take on that. Combination disciplines are abilities that are rare in general and often are carefully guarded within the clan, bloodline, political sect, or cult that they originate from. And in the canon, combination disciplines are kind of, they're supposed to be, you know, the surprise tool we'll use later that are usually used by lower powered vampires or like lower powered groups as their way to edge against the like hegemonic power of the elders and blah. So
your thin blood alchemy kind of shit.
Or, you know, like your Banu Hakim has a secret technique for hunting infernalists that's like a carefully guarded secret within this small portion of their group.
Right.
And you have to do all this training montages to learn the secret art of whatever.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that could be cool story stuff if you want to get into that kind of thing. If this does interest you, you want to look into it. Unfortunately, the combination disciplines don't have a centralized, this is the list where they all exist on. They're scattered throughout all of the old books.
Of course.
Giant pain in the ass. The Lore of the Clans book has a good selection that lists out several combination disciplines per clan that's listed in the Lord of the Clans book. So that's kind of a good place to start to look at.
Okay.
The White Wolf Wiki also has a big list of like, here's all these books with combination disciplines, but it's like, this book has 1, this book has 1, this one has 2.
2?
2? Oh my god. So yeah, I would say start with the Lore of the Clans book if you can get a copy of that PDF or a hard copy of it to kind of get a little perusal, if that's a thing that interests you. Now we're getting into the thing our boys do not like.
My least favorite part of E5.
It is kind of annoying.
So, rough basis on amalgams. These are disciplines that are blended and require power from each side of the discipline to gain the ability of this amalgam. So basically the character can choose which side of the ability that they slot the amalgam within. So instead of having to buy one discipline at 3 dots, the other discipline at 2 dots, and then buying this power separately, if you want to buy the amalgam, you can either buy it as the 3rd dot on the one side or the 2 dot on the other side, but you have to have the other portion to like unlock it.
So you have to have 3 dots on the other side, and you can buy the 2 dot on the other side.
Yeah.
There. Okay.
So that's roughly how that works. Certain disciplines from older editions have been rolled into the amalgams. It seems, at least I have not spoken to anybody on the official writing team, so I don't know what's in their head. I don't know, but based off of the design choices, it looks like a lot of the designs for these were steering towards trying to streamline the absolute clusterfuck that was the old world disciplines, where you're just like, guys, there's 17 to start, and then there's more just hidden, and there's subversions of each of these. And for trying to basically do a soft reboot of a game system, I can understand why that is like overwhelming and fucking insane to deal with. They're like, we gotta streamline this a little bit.
Yeah.
Make this a little bit more player friendly. So some of the old disciplines got wrapped up into amalgams. That's kind of how it is. I do want to note that we will be having a little bit of a discussion with the boys. I will get into further depth about the Tzimisce amalgams specifically in the Tzimisce episodes that'll be next. We're just going to talk about them more broadly for a little bit.
Fine.
You're getting a whole month, sir.
You're writing a whole episode.
I know.
I'm so
It's
proud
not
of you.
about this one, though. Just saying.
No, but
Here we go.
here we go. The things that have made the Blank Bodies boys spicy.
Yeah.
Would you like to begin, or should I?
Sure, I can. So I will start this by saying I'm slightly biased because my 2 favorite clans are the Malkavians and the Ravnos. I don't know a nicer way to say this. I think it's really stupid to leave Malkavians as a core clan in the core book and then remove their defining discipline power and then roll it up into a system where to use their defined discipline, you have to buy specific other disciplines. So if you want the one power that makes a Malkavian like stand out and be a Malkavian, you have to spend a bunch of points on these specific dots just to get to it. It's anti-fun, it's anti-role play. Like, why does it doesn't make sense for just to have demontation that every Malkavian also just has these specific powers, every single one, where it's like, oh, I want to make a Gangrel. I'm only putting my points in animalism to start off with. That's what my character's good at. That's what they do. But instead you're having to buy all these extra dots for stuff that you may not even want, that may not even fit the theme of your character. But it's like, just take it. You gotta take it if you want this.
Yeah.
I even understand for things like Ravnos or Zemitzi. They were not in the core book. They were later additions, and they added some powers for them, especially Ravnos. Dying Clan, there's not a lot of them. I understand them simplifying that. But making Malkavian in the core book and then just like clipping their wings this hard feels really bizarre, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Yeah. The thing that's kind of the kick of the dick in it too is there is an in-world lore reason why it might be like that just wasn't used. Because with Malkavians, the ones that stayed in the Camarilla had the Great Prank that cut them off of Demontation and gave them Dominate instead. So Demontation getting folded into Dominate makes sense. So I'm just like, hey guys, you could have had a whole lore thing where it's like, hey, so the effects of the Great Prank have been wearing off, so there are now Malkavians in the Camarilla that are regaining the ability to do Demontation. So having Demontation as an amalgam might make sense as we're limiting this because you're technically like getting back, and Stella's getting her groove back.
Right.
So it might cost you more to do it this way. But I'm also just in the like, I don't know, it's wonky because it's like I do like having people have the access to things through amalgams, but there's also things where I'm like, this should be a little bit more clan specific, but that's something I just kind of home rule at my table.
Yeah, because technically, you go ahead.
That's one of my big things is like, for any of the already spoken about, you know, Ravnos, Malkavian, Zemitzi, Ministry, you don't have to be that clan. I don't think anywhere in it does it say it has to be. Now, it will say, like, rare outside of this, that, and the other. But it's like, you don't have to pay out of clan costs for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. The Demontation or Chemistry or Zemitzi or Vicissitude are just hanging out in everybody's blood, and that's arguable for Vicissitude. But
yeah, well, yeah, that's the kind of meta plot weirdness with amalgams that like sometimes I have a hard time squaring. Is okay. So in previous editions, because you had to go to somebody that had that power innately in their blood to get access to it, that kind of meant like, okay, you can build upon yourself, but you're kind of having to like Zordon yourself.
Yeah.
In 5th ed with getting new disciplines, you have to either do the same step or you need to be feeding on enough humans with that resonance that you're able to unlock that within yourself.
Right.
And I'm like, I love resonances a lot. That seems a little wonky.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem too is I don't think amalgams are well explained in the core book. Pretty much everyone I know has run them wrong. Like the getting to choose what slot it is in. I've also heard people say, oh, it seems like it's always the more expensive one. It always goes in the more expensive slot. Like,
I don't know where I would love a citation.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think it's well explained, and so people just kind of guess what you're supposed to do with them. So I think that also makes it frustrating, specifically for people who like those powers. Also, it's the kind of, like, weird and wonky that it's a good idea if you want to add that huge list I read of extra powers that aren't in the core book. If you're making a core book of a game, I don't know why you're going to introduce something that, like, off-kilter from everything else and then put on, like, one clan, basically, in the core book and say, only the Malkavians do this. Here's basically a mechanic that we'll probably use later, but it only works for this one clan for these two abilities right now. And otherwise, no one else needs to bother with it. That's not simplifying it. That's adding, like, this weird niche, specific offshoot for one thing. Like, I wish they had either just
I feel like part of the thing that bugged me for, as far as like knowing how to use them, was they're not printed in both, right? Like vicissitude is printed in Protean, and you need Protean and dominate. Dominate can be dominates the lower dot, right?
Yeah.
If vicissitude's not in the dominate section, why would I ever think, oh, I could get it at the 2 die here?
Yeah, I think that's what people were taking away from it, is they're going, whatever section it's printed in, say, oh, it has to go in that slot.
Yeah, but we're like, if you actually read the amalgam section of the core book, that's not what it says.
Yeah.
No.
So, like, I understand why that's unintuitive for folks.
Again, it's not really successfully simplifying things, I don't think.
I am aware that, and I do appreciate that the publishers are wanting to, like, cut down on paper waste and, you know, they're trying to be a little bit more eco-conscious, so they're trying to not reprint materials unnecessarily. So having to reprint amalgams in 2 sections seems crazy, but I'm also like, you could just have an amalgam section.
Yeah, that's what
So
I would
it's
have
like,
suggested.
List all of the disciplines, and then put an amalgam section, and then in above each of those, because there are lore sheets canonically that are limited to clans only.
Yeah.
You could just be like, here's this amalgam, it's limited to this clan.
Yeah, you could have done Demontation, Malkavian, Zamitzi, Vicissitude.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go. Well, there's also ones for, like, that's very, like, Bruja coded. That's, like, a combination of potence and presence.
Right.
It's, like, Spark of Rage.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, yeah, that one's, like, Bruja only. Which, it's not like we, you know, and it's something that could be explained more as, like, kind of like the combined disciplines. Where it's like, yeah, these are abilities that are, like, unique to these different clans or different groups, and they kind of keep them as guarded secrets, but, you know, people are always willing to trade a boon for a thing.
Oh my.
Ooh. I mean, that would just be my editing
Yeah.
thought.
I think
critique.
also my big complaint is that they're... I'm speaking mostly for vicissitude, to be fair. They tried to simplify, but sometimes leaving things more open...
Because it's super vague.
It's just like, okay, for this, if you get this many successes, you can do these things. And then it's like, or get creative, talk to your storyteller.
Yeah.
Which I like that thing. That gave me, like, the room to
go nuts.
Go fucking wild with it.
Yeah.
But someone who doesn't, like, have experience with Zamitzi or really, really like body horror is going to be like, okay, well, they said I could make a pocket, so I guess I'll make a pocket.
Yeah, like, that was one thing between, like, just vicissitude specifically. That was one thing between old system and new system, like, I really preferred on V5. Is because it's like, all right, at this step of vicissitude, you can do within Xbox.
Right.
Within Xbox, doo-doo. Sorry.
You can practice on yourself, you can practice on others, and then horror form.
Ayo.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the way vicissitude was listed out in the old books kind of drove me bonkers. Because it was like, well, you can spend XP and get this little thing. And then you can spend a fuckload more XP and get this slightly more thing. And then spend a fuck more load. And then you get this slightly more thing. And then you spend a metric fuck ton of XP. And then you are you are a demigod. like the tracking on that was insane. I'm like,
it was kind of a lot.
You have to spend so much XP before you get to, like, the real monster fucker shit. And I'm like, that's such a disincentive to want to, like, do that shit.
Yeah.
Because at least with vicissitude now, you have step A, step B. Step A is monster fucker baby edition, where you can, like, do some ookie spooky bleh.
Right.
Little B, or just make yourself, like, inhumanly hot to the point where it's uncanny and kind of weird.
Yeah.
You can be a little insectoid.
Right.
You can do a lot of body mod stuff, and then plan B, where it's like, I am the horror house.
Yeah.
Hit me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does suffer from, and it's kind of a similar thing with, oh my god, I'm forgetting it, the very low level D&D spell, Prestidigitation. Prestidigitation is
fucking great.
Fucking great, but it gives you, like, a couple of, like, base examples of what you can do, and then people interpret that as, this is all that this spell can do. And I'm like, guys, you have just a cavalcade, a cornucopia, if you will, of just, like, silly little shenanigans that you can use the spell for that are, like, super useful. You just gotta be like, okay, hear me out. Can I pull this? Actually, can I actually pull a rabbit out of my hat? It could be a plushie bunny. Like, I don't give a fuck, but can I actually just do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, I love having that kind of like, here's a box, just whatever silly shit. Throw it at your storyteller, see what happens. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I love having that opened.
I do think, though, that, like, it's a little bit frustrating. I go both ways with it. I like how open they are because it does give you plenty of room to just be like, okay, well, what if I want to, like, fucking Deadpool early 2000s version, and, you know, or Cyberpunk, where I want to, like, install a blade inside of my arm on a set of springs that's attached to, like, some muscle fibers.
Yeah, what if I have a bone knife with some tendons?
Right, yeah. Or literally implant, like, a fucking bayonet into your arm, you know?
Yeah.
If you have those ideas, it leaves it open to let you. I lost the rest of the thought.
But because it's like not
it.
defined, it's not like beginner friendly.
It's not beginner friendly, and it'll come back.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say is I also, kind of along the lines of where you're going, I think this might be what you're getting at. And what I was thinking is, like, it's kind of got the opposite problem, too, of what Sarah's saying, where also all it takes is a new or inexperienced ST or a power gamer to make those disciplines that are ill-defined or loosely defined, like, absolute game breakers. When they just end with, or be creative. It's like, all it's going to take is one guy to get the ST to say yes to something once, and then, like, your whole game is derailed because they've done something so insane.
Well, that's why like, session zeros are important, and using the stain system is important. And, like, having after game discussions is important.
There are ways to fix it. There's ways to get around it, but I feel like it is kind of a trap. It is definitely a noob trap built into the system. Like, even especially if you're an ST, like, you can only, and you're new, you can only really expect someone to read so much of previous lore, to look up so much, to do so much math for things you might potentially do.
Yeah.
Or even if you say, yes, this sounds like a good idea, and then halfway through you're like, oh, this is a nightmare. Like, are we just going to stop the game and say, actually, we have to undo all this because it is completely out? Because then you get into, like, the table fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, I know I said you could do this, but now I'm going to need to, like, punish you out of nowhere with a bunch of stains and stuff because this is very unbalanced. Like, that's also kind of just anti-fun. Like, there are ways to make it work, but it's just not going to feel good at the table running it.
Yeah. I also think that just kind of depends on the game and the game group that you are with. Because, like, things I like with World of Darkness is a lot of the game is supposed to be questioning, like, what you're doing and why you're doing it and what are the consequences for those choices. It's a game that is set up to be much more consequence heavy.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason I prefer it over D&D, because there's people that are just like, I've been slaughtering, townsfolk and people. And it's just kind of just wackadoo adventure shit. And they're just like, well, I've caused chaos in this town. I'm going to run away Skyrim style until the guards forget where they're going, and they're going to go back and talk about getting shot in the fucking knee. Woohoo! Like, I understand there's room for those kind of escapist games, and people enjoy that kind of shit. That's not particularly interesting to me. And storytelling well is definitely a skill that needs to be practiced. And there is a trying to find the balance point that works at your table between having fun and actually playing the game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, hopefully.
Oh, I remembered it.
Oh, yeah. What's
Another
up?
thing that I don't like about the amalgams is that, like, a lot of them are multiple dots. Like, I think to get to flesh crafting, which is being able to use vicissitude on someone else, it's like a total of 5 dots or something like that. And I could be wrong. I might be.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to double check real quick, you're welcome.
Yeah, give me a second. No, Paradox. Wiki.
Well, I have one open here. We can just use it as an example, even.
Like, yeah, that's perfect.
For Demontation, in 5th ed, it's an amalgam power of Dominate 2 and Obfuscate 2, which is 3 dots of disciplines you have to spend to get the one ability you actually want.
Yeah.
So I guess what I was getting at, thank you.
Yeah.
What I was getting at is a baby bat cannot engage in their clan-specific discipline, period, I think, at character creation, unless you end up throwing a bunch of points into disciplines. I wish that even if it was something small, they give you a little bloop, of them, a 1 dot of each of the amalgam type things would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
So that you could have like a flavor of it, you know what I mean? Instead of having to spend a total of, what is that, 5, 10, 15, 20 experience?
Yeah, because, like, well, depending on how you're setting your character, because there's kind of a
30?
similar thing with Oblivion for the La Sombra, where you can get the Oblivion sight, where you got, like, the spooky eyes that let you see ghosts. But you also, I can see in all the darkness.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's super fun. So it gives you, like, a little ooky spooky, and then if you want to build up to Arms of Ahriman,
Yeah.
you can if you desire to.
Right.
You don't have to. You don't have to be a battle Samba, but, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I wish, that's kind of what I'm saying there. It's like, it'd be much cooler, in my opinion.
If there's more 1 dot things.
More 1 dots, so that, just so a Malkavian could, like, what's the one that, the LARP? Passion, I think, in the old Demontations.
Yeah,
It's a 1 dot that's just like you can slightly change someone's emotions, or you can raise or lower someone's emotions.
Yeah, I've got it right here. It's 1 dot. So the original version is you can amplify or dull emotions present in a victim, increasing the difficulty of frenzy, virtue, or other rolls. And then later on, it was Incubus Passion, which is inflame one of the 4 humors of the victim, causing them to feel, amplify, or deaden their emotions. And
God,
then when,
that would be so brutal with V5.
Yeah.
like, have a discipline that can actually, like, affect resonances or something. Like, oh, what if, like, you can find someone with a certain resonance, you can amplify that emotion in them. That would make people actually think about resonances. Like, what resonance does this person have? What, or even what direction do they lean?
And you could, like, flip somebody where you're like, I'm in a situation. It's like, I need to go fast as fuck. You!
My teammate needs a certain resonance for this ability. You.
Yeah.
You're real fucking stressed now.
And they're just like, oh my god! Oh my
Like,
god!
you're not mind controlling anyone. You're not doing anything insane. You're just, like, pushing them a little further in the direction they already are.
Yeah.
You could do something like that for a 1 dot power really easily.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the kind of thing. I do like that at least for starting out, the discipline trees were generally kind of 2 dot, 1 dot, 2 options, 1 option, 2 options, 1 option, and you can kind of like filter things through as you desired. That's also another thing that wasn't very well explained.
Yeah, I hated that.
So, prime example. So with presence, you have 2 1 dot options and then a 2 dot option for the longest time. So you had Awe, you had Daunt, and then Lingering Kiss was the second level. A lot of people misunderstood. They thought they could only pick Awe or Daunt, and then when they got to level 2, they had to take Lingering Kiss. I'm like, no, you could take its opposite Friendo, and then you just have both at level 2. You don't have to take Lingering Kiss if you don't want to.
You could take both of 1 dots.
Yeah, you can take both of 1 dots, and then they both run at second level.
Right.
And you can do the same thing where you're just like, you're going up and you're like, well, I want to build up because when you put dots into the discipline, it raises the powers of that discipline across the board for those dice pools, which is good. So you're like, okay, I want to beef up an ability, but I don't like the 3rd dot option. You can go down and buy dot 2 or dot 1, and then everything's at the 3rd dot. Like that's a thing you can do. And depending on how you want your amalgamated character to be set up, as long as you're aware out of character that's the direction you want to take your guy, you can kind of plan things out to be like, okay, I have a character that needs X, Y, and Z, but I'm not as interested in one side or the other. So you can kind of push things around to be like, okay, I don't need that many dots in Dominate, and that's my 3rd dot one, so you buy like the 2 lower ones that you want, and then your 3rd one is that amalgam dot, and then you're done. You don't have to fucking touch that fucker again.
Right.
I would potentially, and I haven't tested this yet, but I think it might be an interesting idea, is if people would want to offer amalgams at an XP cost.
So instead of having the opposite power, you just make it a little more expensive to buy.
Well, I was wondering about it. So, like, you know how the combination disciplines, you have to buy, the example was the 3rd dot and the 2 dot power, and then you have access to that, like, 3rd option.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that would be worth doing.
So instead of replacing either of the dots in the amalgams, you just have to have those, and then you can buy that as a 3rd thing.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if that's something people would want to homebrew and test and see how that goes.
I feel like that could be cool, but also it adds, I feel like, more experience sync to get to the power.
It's pushing a lot of the problems I have with amalgams further. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think that would be a bad option, but it also is pushing things further away from what I wanted.
Well, my thought would be is if you're going to do the amalgam things, if you've already spent the XP on the 3 dot and the 2 dot, for example, I would let you buy the amalgam at like half of the lower dot cost, maybe.
See, I could see something like that.
Like that could be interesting.
It'd be a discount, yeah. I mean,
yeah, just let the amalgam be like a discount. Like you can, if you want to buy this little extra branch on your like discipline tree, maybe
Right.
that might be something worth experimenting with.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if people want to fuck with amalgams more, it might be worth digging into the combination disciplines from the previous editions and then just going, okay, well, if this runs pretty much in V5 like it would in, the previous edition, you would just go, okay, I'm just going to run this as an amalgam.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Off we go.
Because then you just got... Because if you guys are interested in exploring those options, you've just unlocked a ton of new powers that are already pre-written and you don't have to fuck with shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's just free real estate. Because that's something I'm kind of contemplating on doing on some game stuff that I run in the future, just to kind of see how that goes.
Yeah.
Because at least my skimming of the combination disciplines, a lot of them are very niche abilities.
Mm-hmm.
That depending on the chronicle you're doing, these could be like, oh, these are really specialized characters and like this is the thing that they do, and you can kind of expand upon what they're doing in a way that's kind of more in-world, and you're like, oh yeah, well you had to learn it because there's like a secret sect of this Bruja Brotherhood. They had to go through a whole hazing ritual.
Right.
And
they teach you the secret uppercut.
Yeah. They teach you you have to learn how to dap properly to get to the secret bro uppercut. And I'm like, oh, that could be a fun. Just like that's a whole like 4 or 5 sessions just right there.
Right.
And I also think it's the way they are in the core book. Again, is another noob trap. If you haven't played previous editions, you don't know a whole lot of the setting, but you're getting into it. There are ways that you could, specifically, I'm going back to Demontation again, but it's an amalgam of Dominate. Like, you could flavor it in a way that, like, Awe and Daunt are, like, in clan make sense. You could flavor those in a way that they do kind of make sense as, like, a Malkavian, like, mind craziness ability, but it is not presented in any sort of way like that. It's specifically presented in the way that everyone else gets Dominate.
Yeah.
And so, like, even if they just taken the time that say, hey, when Malkavians have this ability, because of the way their clan is, this might appear a little different in them. It mechanically works the same, but here's just a little flavor to make awe a little more like, it's kind of creepy how, oh, Daunt, oh, they are like, they don't know why, but they are afraid of you. They're not afraid of you because of the big thing. They're just terrified. There are ways they could have written that out. But if you've never played this game before and you're like, oh, they have this power, and I guess eventually they can take this other thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it takes a lot of the flavor out of it. And like I said, if you don't know these previous editions or the setting and you're just reading this book, a lot of that's just lost.
Yeah, that's something I've run into because, shockingly, tabletop gaming got really popular.
What?
Especially because of COVID.
Wait a second.
So people were like, oh, there's games beside D&D. I'd love to look at these things. And yeah, if you're already like dealing with WoD stuff, V5 for me was a really good, like, oh, thank God. Because there was like a lot of pivoting on problems that I was like, they fixed the problem. Good. But I'm coming into this with like a lot of background knowledge on the world and the lore and stuff like that. But the way things are written just as plain text does a good vague explanation, but when you're trying to get past just the like, this is what the Camarilla is, this is what the Sabbat is, when you're trying to get into it with any kind of middling or deeper depth, it's just like not super accessible in the core books.
Right.
They've definitely expanded on a lot.
Oh yeah, it's been expanded a lot. Like the Gehenna Wars book, I was just like, there's finally some good fucking food. I was like, yes. I was just like, fucking, and I deeply appreciate that for some reason we've just all doubled down that Beckett looks exactly like Matt Mercer, and it's so fucking funny to me. It's such a dumb joke, but I'm like, no, just forever. Just poor Beckett's walking around trying to, to solve things before Gehenna sets in, and he's taking his field notes, and people are just like, is that fucking Matt Mercer? Hey, Matt!
Fuck, I gotta run.
And he's just like, shit, God, I gotta kill this nerd.
But I think that really kind of sums up, like, my biggest problem with amalgams overall is they kind of, like, split the difference in the worst place possible. Like, old players are not going to be happy because they feel like they're being limited.
Yeah.
and or having to track down multiple books and spend a bunch of points to do something that to them is like basic and core to the clan. New players are not having any of this explained to them well, either in how they work, what they mean for that character, what they mean for that clan, and so they're just kind of there. It's an extra complication that new players are not going to understand why that needs to be there in general, because like you said, there's lore reasons for some of this, not in the core book, not in that clan explanation section, not in the ability explanation system. Old players are going to say, yeah, fine, I know that, but like this feels incomplete.
Yeah, it's like fucking chemistry being broken into the amalgams. I'm like, mechanic, that mechanic mirroring the brokenness of the clan, I think is really fucking interesting. I wish it was written about in a way that made sense in that context. I'm going to go back to the ministry, the clan that is constantly forget. That is the redheaded stepchild, which is extra funny because Set.
Right. Get away from me!
Like, Serpentis has just been royally kind of screwed over in ways that I'm just like, why?
Yeah, they just have like a shittier version of presence, right?
It's weird. It's weird. Some of it's cool. Some newer stuff that kind of fix things, but it's just like, let people be horny snakes. God damn it. Let my boys be horny snakes. But
I'm a snake.
I'm a snake. So yeah, it's just kind of wonk. There's like, I really like amalgams on the fact that it's like, oh, the power of the blood can like synergize in ways and cause like cool new things to happen. I think inherently that's fucking cool. And I think it's cool that with amalgams you do have the flexibility of like, okay, to get this ability I need to have this dots in this one and this dots in this one, and you have the flexibility to stack those in a way that's more advantageous for the character build you want to do. But that's not fucking explained.
Yeah.
Drives me bananas.
It needs to be a bigger focus in the lore in the setting itself, which would also make those clans stand out as like, hey, there's some weird stuff going on with them. Why is that? Oh, now I'm learning about the expanded what's going on in this setting.
But yeah, but like even Serpentis being fucking weird.
Yeah.
Lore-wise would make sense if Set were dead. And it's like, oh yeah, their antediluvian also is like dying or dead, or he's in like a weird semi-resurrected torpor state, so their powers are also fucking up and being weird.
Right.
I'm like, guys, you have lore reasons why these things are the way they are, and it's not being taught to the baby bats, which is fine, because it's getting me paid, but like, it's offloading a lot of work onto storytellers.
Yeah.
And
without giving, especially new storytellers to the system, a fucking flag of like, hey buddy, you're really gonna want to check out these other books real quick, just so like you got the notes.
And I'm gonna go a little behind the scenes for this one, because we did a recent mailbag episode, but we haven't released it yet. It's been recorded. It will come out eventually.
Yes.
But there's a question that kind of tied into it about what we thought was going to happen with the lore. I'm not going to give that whole answer I gave on that episode, but one of the things I said is I like how they're kind of vague. Like, they are giving big answers, but they're not doing the like, all right, here's a full adventure explaining everything and how the world's gonna end.
We don't
like,
have a whole novel.
Yeah, I do like that they're kind of implying and laying some things out and letting players fill in the rest. But amalgam specifically, and everything we're talking about here, is doing that like, oh, we're being cheeky, we're hinting at what's going on. You don't do that with a core mechanic of a game. If someone is supposed to understand how the game works, you can't lampshade that. You can't use that to lampshade lore and say, because people are just going to get frustrated or not use that mechanic. Like, I know so many people just like, I'm just not going to deal with amalgams. Like, it's such a mess. It's such a mess. And like, I know when the player's guide was coming out, like everyone was like, oh, are we going to finally get like dementation and vicissitude? There's so many people who are like, oh, hopefully they're going to expand. They reprinted the free stuff, and that was basically it.
And it's like, you could do other kind of like steps with amalgams if you wanted to, because it's like, guys, we're in terms of oWoD, it's like we are in Gehenna now. You could just have it in the lore, just like, hey, so a bunch of powers are fucking up. You know, ever since the technocracy dropped several nukes and wiped Ravnos off the fucking map, shit's just been fucking weird. It's almost like a fraction of the power of fucking Vitae has been obliterated from the earth, and there's just rippling effects throughout all of just vampire kind.
Yeah.
And there's just people going, I don't know what the fuck this means. This is wild.
Right.
Crazy times we're living in. Also, fucking Elon, what are you doing? Like, our world's on fire, vampire world's on fire. There's tons of in-lore reasons why these things could be done the way they are and then have it reflected in the mechanics. That's how I sell it at my table. it's been going pretty okay, but I have to do so much front loading as an ST to explain these motherfuckers in ways that I'm like, I don't mind doing. I do like doing an education. Clearly, you're listening to this goddamn show.
Yeah.
But it also
But
requires
it's a lot of work to expect for somebody who's like, I just want to run a game on Fridays with the homies.
yeah, it requires knowledge that's not given to you in the book that gives you the mechanics that you need that knowledge to explain. That's really it.
Yeah.
It's also knowledge that most new vampires wouldn't have anyway. So it's like one of those things where like I've thought this on and off. It's like I almost wish they would have just like held off on Malkavians and some of these other clans and given them full discipline spreads or full amalgams and not put it in the core book if they're going to be so wonky and so half explained and half like, okay, we're going to add Malkavians and Ravnos. And in this book, we're going to explain, you know, what happened to Ravnos, the clan, and what the great prank was and all this stuff. And we can do some stuff in V5 and a lore sheet that ties into it and whatever. And we'll explain some of that here. And instead of giving us like what feels like a lazy, we didn't really care, but people expected it. So here it is. And then later on, we'll talk about it maybe in the books. It's just like, just give it to us or don't at some point.
Because it's like, you also have a lore reason to just run the Malkavians as they only have dominate. No other reason. And just have that be a mystery until you're like, oh yeah, by the way, dementation.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Or, you know, it could have been a thing where the Sabbat book came out and they put the disciplines that, you know, only the Sabbat version of those clans had. Like, that would have been the perfect place to just like, oh yeah, here's this. And then reprint it in the player's guide that came out like a year later.
Yeah.
Like, there was so many better ways that this could have been handled.
Yeah. Not to say I don't like what we have gotten. It's just one of those, I'm like, I would love to understand why these choices were made.
Yeah, V5's great. This is my biggest complaint, though. This is my,
this is
like,
my old man yells at
I'm going
clouds.
to
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. Idea, though, that you had mentioned that I think I might be able to cram out before we get the actual episode out. So it should be out if the boys are cool with me doing this.
Nope.
So each of the amalgam disciplines that we have in V5, should I just do a little blank bodies write-up of a 1 dot?
Oh, that'd be neat.
We could do that. We also talked about
Like
at
a little one-pager?
We could do that. Maybe if people are interested. We also talked about this, an episode idea we've been floating for a long time, is like us sitting down and actually making like the like a V5. Here's at least 5 dots of these powers.
Yeah. I know, and this will be coming up in the Zemitzi episode, a friend of the pod has written some stuff out that is on Storyteller's Vault.
Ooh.
I will cover it more in the Zemitzi episode because I'm trying to keep things organized.
Ooh.
But my initial skim of it was, Ayo,
Hell yeah.
2 thumbs up.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, Sebastian Black, aka Witch Knight Black, it's a delightful human being. I appreciate every time they share photos of their pets.
Yeah.
The snake is gorgeous. But yeah, if you're looking for some other options, this would be a case of, I would say definitely go peek into Storyteller's Vault and see if that scratches your itch.
Right.
Yeah, I think I got time this weekend. I can slap together at least a 1-pager of like, here are some 1 dot options to like prep for the amalgams.
Right.
That would fit in the amalgam trees that are basically just rips from the old books.
Yeah, I like it.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much what I've done every time that I've run players who've played previous editions who played one of those clans, or when I've played one of these clans in V5, is basically just go back to like specifically V20 and be like, can I use this at this dot?
Yeah.
And talk with the ST and make it work and just reuse those.
Yeah, most of the time those translate pretty okay. Most of the time it translates pretty okay if you want to just like, free real estate.
Right.
We have 30 years worth of material that we can harvest for our new game and then add our own bullshit on top of it. It's great.
Actually,
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
that could be a cool episode idea. We've done the clan episodes, but like do discipline episodes. Like we're talking about this
Like-
discipline. We're gonna talk about like what it can do, how it ties into the lore, like things like the Great Prank. I know we talked about him a little bit in the Malkavian series and stuff, but like, and then like here's some of the stuff it used to do in older editions. If you want to give this to an NPC or reflavor this for your own game, or
Yeah.
because there are a lot of stuff that, like, in lore, these disciplines used to do that just aren't here. So, like, canonically, they have happened, but now there's no note of them.
Yeah, and I'd be much more comfortable about doing that now because I kind of pushed against doing that earlier because we just didn't have that much material when we started doing this show. But now we do, and there's stuff for elders in the Gehenna Wars book.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they've cracked open the elder can. I'm free now.
I'm free.
I can talk about things. 'Cause, hooray.
Because that's the other thing. Like, yes, a fresh out the womb, we'll call it vampire. Maybe if you want to keep with the lore, is not getting these abilities. But how we talked about you learn out of clan and some abilities, all it takes is an elder walking in the room being like, hey, you want some blood?
You want some
Here's
sip?
all these old abilities back.
Elder walks in and goes, yo! And you're just like,
Huh? Me? This one?
me?
I need you to do something. In exchange, I'm going to teach you a clan secret.
And you're just like, why? And they're like, the drums within my blood are telling me to go east. Before I leave, child, I am teaching you this thing, and then I am fucking off forever.
Forever.
And you're just like, I'm scared. Why are we in a closet? Why'd you pull me into this closet? This is very intimate.
Shut up and suck.
Oh, no.
The blood.
No!
The blood.
No! It's a hostile work environment.
That's how you gotta drink the blood if you want the discipline. I'm sorry.
Ventrue TM.
Just sitting here just like, hey, we haven't even talked about safe words yet.
Don't understand
No
it.
time. I've got
I
to
am
go
150 years old. What does that mean?
I have no understanding of the SIP, child. And I'm like, stop calling me that. You sound like a PDF file.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I hope that I wasn't whinging too much this episode. But it is like the one thing that every time I play V5 and I get involved with these clans, I just start banging my head against a wall, and then immediately ask my ST, "Hey, can we ignore this?"
Usually, I'm like, yeah,
Usually, people say I have played with have said, "Yeah, you know what you're doing."
yeah, yeah.
But-
You, I'm not worried about. There might be other people where I'm like, could you keep it within this box, please? I don't like to box people. It's just show me you can handle the box, and then we'll get weird.
Yeah.
Please, I just want the ability plot device.
Hunter, it doesn't help that you have this like impish, gnomish little smile, and you're just like, I can do these things. I'm just like, yeah. The bad thing is he can. I'm just like, shit, dog. Okay, how am I gonna tell you no?
Oh boy.
Usually, pretty easily, I just go, Hunter, no, stop it.
I don't know. It is. I think this is talking about future episodes. As I'm looking through some of these abilities again, it's like some of these are things that we in our Malkavian episode were like, they can do this. And then in the old version, it was like a 6-dot ability, which is like technically not possible in V5. But it's something so simple as communicate over a great distance via the Madness Network. It's like that has kind of been like outmoded as cell phones now exist. Like now it's just like a
There's stuff
very
with like
special cell phone. But
yeah, it's a special cell phone, and it's a thing that like is kind of wrapped up in the Cobweb lore sheet. Some aspects of previous disciplines have been wrapped into things that are lore sheets.
again, it's just messy.
Which is not terrible. It's a little messy. It's just a little messy.
I mean, it's VTM.
It's also VTM. Well, if we're not here to be messy bitches, what
Exactly.
are we doing? No, I think you guys are articulating a commonly held complaint and or issue that I'm like, I see this. I don't completely agree with all of these complaints, but like I do see the problem.
Yeah.
I think they picked a road that kind of doesn't work great for anyone. Like it almost would have been better for them to just lean in. This is for new players, and so we are doing this in a way that things make sense for new players. We're not going to touch on it yet in the core book. Or this is what people expect, so we're going to do it. We're just going to do it all the way. And then they can do amalgams for one of those like 35 legacy disciplines that haven't even been touched yet or weren't touched till later on. Then we can start using amalgams and put them in a book like the player's book where here's a new mechanic that applies to more than like 3 things. And we're going to use it all throughout this book, and it makes sense here.
Yeah. Well, and I think amalgams mechanically are good for abilities that like kind of split the difference between disciplines.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what a combination discipline is, so...
And I
In some ways, I don't get it at all, though. Like, always in vicissitude here. Dominate, I mean, I guess, yes, you are commanding the flesh.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, you're commanding the flesh.
It was... At least in my understanding, it was always much less like, do the fucking thing, and it was much more of like a science art kind of thing, and Dominate is not exactly
Doesn't have the
science-y
finesse.
or art. Exactly, yeah, it's just saying do the fucking thing, you know what I mean?
What if it was Presence Protean? How'd you feel about that?
makes more sense.
Makes more sense. I think that, like, well, then Zamitzi would have to be able to natively get presents.
Yeah, they could be super alluring or super horrifying. I feel like it kind of works.
I mean, it definitely, absolutely
It works for
does.
the vibe, but it's also a horrifying vibe.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want a Zamitzi to be like, you're in love with me, and you're like,
And
just
you're
be
like,
yes, you know what, I am.
Yeah, I am. I'm a monster fucker. Who knew? Certainly not my Pornhub searches.
Right.
And it's also kind of one of those things where, like, I feel like a lot of these disciplines are kind of iconic for specific clans, and you're kind of now muddying the water by giving them to multiple clans.
Yeah, because I also kind of feel like Quietus got fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm happy blood sorcery has been described the way it is to be more broad. Because, yeah, there's a lot of things where I'm like, this is just blood sorcery, but it's like, no, this is a special thing. I'm like, this is just a school of blood magic.
Right.
You said it several times. Why is there not just blood magic and then sub-school? So, for V5 doing it that way, I'm just like, good. I like this. This makes sense.
Right.
But... goddamn, the Bada Hakim sorcery has gotten fucking kicked in the teeth. Like, the Bada Hakim in the ministry got really fucked in ways that I'm just like, why? But then again, I was scrolling through the 20th anniversary book, and you get through the section on Serpentis, and there's like a really hot lady that's like half snake with her titties out, and I'm just like, oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Like, 14-year-old me came back with a vengeance. And I was like, oh yeah, this is why I read this shit. Hot snake lady with titties.
Let's go. Why can't I have that?
I just got aggressively bisexual for no reason. I'm allowed to be a pervert. I'm gay. That's how that works, right?
What?
What?
I think everyone's allowed to be a pervert,
Yeah, everyone's
as
allowed to-
long as you're not infringing on anyone else.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I recently got called out as being like the friend who likes the sex pervert films, which is not inaccurate. I'm like,
Are you talking about like Crash?
I mean, that's a good movie.
The one that the people get in car crashes for sexual thrills?
oh yeah. I was thinking about a different film
Oh, okay.
where it was like, it's Oscar bait. And I'm like, this is literally the worst movie I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Yeah, the movie about interracial relations or whatever.
Yeah, but it was like, no one acts or talks like this. Like, what is this? I had to watch it in high school, and it was like one of the worst, most miserable, like, the teacher's clearly hungover days I've ever had in school. And I was just like, these themes are important, and I don't like the way that you're underselling this with this shitty fucking movie.
I have some friends who do like a arts movie night, and sometimes they do like gay movie night.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's like, I love John Waters. Like,
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of queer film that's cool, even as a straight guy. But then they put on one that I believe it was called Sex Tool.
Ooh.
And my review was just, I can now confirm I am neither as into art films as I thought or gay, was my whole review. But it was literally just like a all male orgy, but like it was shot in a way that's intentionally supposed to be unenjoyable.
Okay, then.
Huh.
And it's like an hour long, and I watched like 15 minutes of it. It's like, I get it. I don't like this. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Art films be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
it was the 70s, but like, yeah, it was one of those where it's just like, okay.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'll do my best to
but
get
you
it.
might love it, I
You
guess,
might love
according
it,
to what
that's
you're
fine.
saying. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I am both into art films and gay. So, it's like I've gone back to college for specifically those things.
Ooh.
I watch a lot of things where you're just like, what is happening? And I'm like, well, I can explain it, but like,
Do you have half an hour?
yeah, I watched Aniara recently. Great fucking sci-fi film, but it's like, it's big. The actual title I had for the essay that I literally turned in for academic credit was Sapphic Espresso Depresso
Nice.
in space.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, there's this, the AI kills itself because everybody's too sad because space is too big.
True.
Space is pretty fucking big.
Yeah. But what's also big
Frighteningly so.
is our love for Paralyze for giving us music.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They did.
They gave us that music.
They did. It's a banger. And that banger
So many fucking cyborgs are dead.
is on Bandcamp. You should check it out.
Yeah.
My homies, my friends, my siblings in Kane. We exist on social medias. We do have a Blue Sky. We do have a TikTok. We do have an Instagram. If you just type in Blank Bodies, you will find us.
Yeah. Or blankbodies.com will link you to all of that.
Yeah, all the linkies. And on those linkies is also our community Discord if you want to come say hey.
Do it. I
Hey,
dare
ho,
you.
let's go. got people hanging out doing games and stuff in there, people sharing lore things and helping each other write games, and people organize games, and it's a vibe.
It is.
I did also add Tiny Kendrick Lamar as an emote.
Get it, Tiny Kendrick Lamar.
Fucking Tiny Kendrick, let's go. Like, even when he's like emote size, you can still just see that fucking grin on his face where
Nice.
he clearly murdered a man on national television, and we all clapped. And then Serena danced on his grave. It was great.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And if you want to get access to the special Patreon content on our Discord, and for patrons, we have a Patreon.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, if you pay us money
up on there.
to support us, we appreciate that. We are upping our equipment to give you a better quality show. We have now gotten up to 4 episodes every month, as well as a Patreon bonus episode. So if you give us $1 dues, you get 5 episodes.
And that their milk episode. That just happened thanks to the
Yeah,
patrons.
the milk episode, god damn it.
You also get all kinds of polls and stuff. I'm a little behind, but I'm putting a poll up, a little inside baseball there. As we're expanding the show and doing the weekly episodes, and also we've getting past the clans and a lot of the intro stuff, the regular shows are starting to get more in-depth in the weeds and a little weirder. So a lot of the stuff that I had been doing as bonus episodes is starting to become main episode fodder, as we've kind of laid out a lot of the groundwork we wanted to for that stuff. And so I've been trying to figure out what direction I want to go. So I've got a poll going up for some of the weirder stuff that I've been wanting to talk about with the show that we just haven't gotten around to. I'm also going to make a post on the patron and in the patron chat on our Discord, just asking you guys what you're even interested in seeing from the bonus episodes. You guys are paying for them, and I know the polls are fun, and I like writing them and talking to you guys about them, but like I do legitimately like want input. What do you guys want to hear from that? What do you think would be good for that? Do you just want me to get fucking weird with it? Like, I can get weird with it if you want.
He can get weird.
I can do like
We can do
bizarre
Snuff
deep
Part
dives.
2.
I'd Snuff Part 2. I can do other like weird deep dives like that if that's what you're interested in. Like, if you just want me to say figure out something weird and tabletop or history related and go, I can do it. But you know, I want some input.
Yeah, you are paying us with your hard-earned dollars in this shitty economy. We want to make sure you're getting your dollars worth.
No.
We're trying.
So I might even make a second poll of just a bunch of ideas and let you vote for however many of them you think are interesting. So I can kind of gauge interest and take input from you, the community.
We also have an ideas and feedback channel from the public, and then there's also the Patreon exclusive chat.
Yeah,
You can ping us both in for this.
If you're in the patron, put your ideas in the patron chat. If there's things that you'd like to see that might make you a patron, go ahead and put those in ideas and feedback. But
Hell yeah.
Because we do have to make that bread.
yeah.
Not the actual bread I've been baking at home. I've been peasant maxing.
But
I do like me some bread.
Dude, bread, bit of butter on it. Fuck yeah.
what's our next patron goal?
Patreon go, oh, son of a bitch. Okay. God damn it. I keep ha-haing myself into corners. So our next Patreon goal, we have $7.50 a month. We are going to be giving everybody who's part of the Patreon at that point an exclusive item. We're looking at getting an enamel pin of some sort, hopefully.
neat.
That we'll
Be
mail to all
neat.
of you. Even if you live overseas, we'll fucking figure it out. It's a fucking pin.
I'll throw it.
Trying to throw it really hard.
Yeah. I've been practicing potence.
God damn it. And then the next step is $1,000 a month. We will do a World of Darkness travel vlog, location scouting thing for Indianapolis, because we are officially a World of Darkness location city.
Yeah, so that'll be a little like documentary, live stream, video content thing. We'll figure it out, but
We're interested in expanding into video because we're assholes. Also, I will do the Comisode. We will finish the trifecta of the bodily fluids
it's
series.
confirmed.
And we'll do the Comisode for $1,000 a month. I'm going to have to say a bunch of things that I know are going to get clipped.
Yep.
Yep. Damn it. And then after that, we have a goal for $15K where we'll do a travel vlog adventure through the great city of Chicago, our neighbor to the north.
Yeah, which is huge in the lore, so there'll be plenty of stuff for us to talk to. We could do multiple of those, honestly.
Yes. Also, Chicago is just a cool fucking city, and I fucking love Chinatown.
Good food,
Fuck
Good
yeah.
good people.
Are we allowed to go there?
We can. during the day.
Okay.
I've been there at night. It's fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
Conducting business?
No.
Okay.
Unless-
Yes, I exchanged money for goods or services, like chicken.
Look,
Okay, yeah, that's
I was
fine.
gonna say, I will die for fucking boba. There's
I
so
know.
many boba shops.
I know,
I
Sarah.
fucking love boba.
I know.
If you're not allowed to conduct business, but business includes buying food or drink, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that's true.
because my fat ass want that boba. Give me that Thai
Man,
iced
I
tea.
want a Thai iced tea. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking Thai iced tea slaps.
Man, I want some.
I think that's everything. Also, yeah, we do interviews. If you have a game or product or series or thing that you'd like to talk to us about, shoot us an email at blankbodies@gmail.com. We've had all kinds of game creators, storytellers on, and we would love to have you if you have something to share with us. I have a couple of people who reached out,
Ooh.
or their friend reached out for them, so I'm working on
Anxiety's
getting
a
a hold of the
bitch.
real people. But yeah, come on in.
Yeah, the gaming community is a cool place. We want to see your cool stuff. Community's important. God damn it.
Yeah. And if you're a vampire,
Talk to John.
please. Anyway, are we done?
I
Yeah,
think
we're done.
I think we did it.
Hey, friends. Thanks for listening to us.
Yeah.
You're lovely. Your ears are nice. Mwah.
Your ears are nice.
I don't know.
God, that's horrifying.